Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this stream of Humankind. Amplitude Studios and Sega have been incredibly generous and given me an early copy of this, and most people that have had access to Humankind have not been able to show their own footage. Basically, everything that you've seen on the internet thus far is what's called B-roll footage, where they'll be talking over the top of game content which is given to them. They basically have a video, they talk over the top of the video, they're not actually playing. I am. I know that there are a couple of other streams going on, but we now have access to this. I will also state that this is still very much in pre-alpha. You will see at the bottom of the screen, just over there, it says pre-alpha. This is pre-alpha. This is incredibly early footage. And so they are doing what is called open development, where basically they open the game up to people if you sign up for it, and I will provide a link to that in just a moment, and you could also get an early copy to this and assist them in the development. So you'll get a scenario to play, you play through the scenario, and then you give feedback. Huzzah! And that's basically what the plan here is. So if you are interested in signing up for that, then type in !Humankind, and that will provide you with a link to the OpenDev sign up. Trash Gamer, thank you very much for the Twitch Prime subscription. Welcome to the Modelings. Good to have you with us. Alright, so what have we got going on here? Well, we are able to play one scenario. It is a grand total of 30 turns, and we are playing as Babylon. Discovery, small steps, growth. Standing at the center of civilization, Babylon is, was, and always will be one of the greatest cities the world has ever seen. It's your turn to write a chapter in its glorious history. How will you be remembered? And we're going to go ahead and start this. Originally a modest Mesopotamian city, Babylon, which in Akkadian means the Gate of the Gods, became between the beginning of the second millennia and something. Couldn't get time to read that. Alright, the Towers of Babylon. Let me tell you the story of this glorious city. How it began, how it expanded, how it thrived. Long ago, Babylon was little more than a dusty square and a smattering of market stalls, but its people have had big dreams. Grow Babylon, explore its environs, and settle new lands. Expand and fortify the city. The fate of Babylon is in your hands. Raise a great city of many souls, protected by many armies, and whose influence stretches into new lands. So this is the game. This is what it looks like. You can zoom out, and you get this rather cool parchment effect, which we've seen in previous games like... oh, which one was it? Fallen Princess, that's the one. Elemental Fallen Princess had a very similar thing where it basically converts everything into icons, so you get the strategic view. You can also see a little bit of the map. I don't know how much of this is actually going to adhere to what we could discover. I have noticed that these squiggles do sometimes correspond with mountains and things, but also this looks a bit too uniform to do that. Maybe it was just got lucky. Endless Legend did it as well. Ah, interesting. That would make sense because this game is made by the studios that did Endless Legend. So Amplitude did Endless Legend, Endless Space. Basically anything endless is them. Okay, so we start with the city of Babylon, which we can see here perched on the mountain. There are a couple of buildings that we can build. We will talk about that in just a moment. And we can basically start setting up districts and structures in this region. As we expand outwards, we will find other regions, for example over here, up here, and probably over here. And to explore this, we have a scout. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this scout, consisting of 2 units at the moment. You can add more units as well. And we'll just send them out to this. This is a rocky field, and it has something of interest. One thing I will mention, which I'm pretty sure is a bug, is you will get a pop-up when you explore a site like this, but the pop-up is really quick, so you've got to catch it quickly. You can't, like, freeze it. Over this way. So this is going to give us something. We'll see what it is. There's going to be animal remains, 5 science, gone. That's one thing that they do need to change. So we just got a little bit of science, and we can also see this next district. We've got a nice little oasis. We've got some open fields, which are probably good for farming, and what looks to be a pretty good defensive site. You'll notice that our capital of Babylon is on a similar outcropping, so it's going to be very hard to attack from all of these directions with a bit of a slope here. This one's actually got only 1 access point, so I'm quite liking this. So what we can do is say, you know what, I quite like this area. we should build an outpost here. And that is what this button here will do. We're going to claim this territory. It'll cost us 30 ducats, and we can see our cash up there, which I just realized is using the same currency symbol as Endless did. And we're going to stick an outpost on the top of this hill, and our scouts can do this. What that basically does is claims this territory. It will take 2 turns to set up, and then after those 2 turns we will, I think, get vision over this whole territory and basically say this is ours. We can then choose to upgrade the outpost into a full city, and at that point it gets all of the abilities that Babylon has. So that is a pretty decent opening move there. So in Babylon itself we can see all of the different effects that these tiles are having. So we've got production from the center, money, food and science, and then various terrain features outside of the city which give us other things. So production and food, production, and production. So this is going to be a pretty productive city, which is good because I like industry. Babylon itself is considered a science city, and if we hover over this scientist we can see what exactly this means. Gameplay orientation focused on science and research. We can set cities into science mode. All of the industry and money are then converted into science. This mode lasts for at least 5 turns. Unlocks action, convert to science on Empire, +1 era available to research. Huzzah! Not exactly sure what the convert to science on Empire thing means, and what that +1 Empire era means. Maybe it means we stay with Babylon longer, or we get access to more technologies. I think it might mean we have access to more technologies. Not 100% sure. We will talk about tech in a minute, because I quite like the system. It's very familiar for those of you who are fans of Civilization. Then we have various buildings that we can do. So we have some stuff like this astronomy house, which I think is unique to Babylon. This will provide +2 food for researchers, so anybody who is tasked with research is also going to be producing food. It will provide +2 science per adjacent farming district. So if we were to build it, for example, here, and then build a farmer here, here, we would get all of the adjacencies from those adjacent farms. And farm quarters, not districts, are one of the things that we can already build. And then finally we get an additional researcher slot, so we can have up to 2 researchers in this city. We could then have 3. So I think I'm going to start out by building the astronomy house. And we'll need to choose where to put it. I think I quite like this spot. So what this is going to do is it's going to give us access to the resources which are adjacent to it. This is basically pushing out the boundaries from our city. And also providing +9 production, though I don't know why it's doing that. We're still going to build it there. Okay, so it is going to take 5 turns to construct. Requires 132 production. We produce 26. And then after this we can start queuing up some other things. We've seen the placeable structures, like the astronomy house. We've got the districts, which we can then place outside of this to push out the boundaries and also start collecting more resources from those locations. And also the adjacencies comes in really important. But we also have what are called infrastructure. And infrastructure are things like this millstone, which are built in the city itself. You don't place them anywhere. And they will modify the way that that city works. So for example, we can get this millstone. It will provide +4 food for every territory we have. So I think I don't know what territory is. I think a territory might be one of these tiles. Or maybe it's one of these regions. Yeah, I don't know what a territory is. I'm not sure what the definition means. But that's going to give us extra food. I think it must be per tile. And then we can also get tanning racks, which will do the same thing but with money. So we could do those afterwards. But that's like more specializing your city. And right now, I just want science, because we're a science nation. Next up, technology. So we have the button down here, and I do like how this is like always available. The other thing I should point out is this does work like Civ, where if you have actions which you still need to undertake, or like Total War does this as well, then they'll be available here instead of the end turn. So you can click on that and say, right, you need to sort out your technology, and it'll pop up the technology. So here we have a simple menu showing the technologies and showing everything that they provide. However, I much prefer seeing the actual tech tree. One slight bug here, it always pops you up in the classical era. Even though we can't actually research any of this stuff, we have to go back one to the ancient era, because that's where we actually are. So right now available we have calendar, domestication, carpentry, and city defense. So calendar will provide us with granaries, which are going to be additional food production, and also more farmers. We can get the commons quarter, which will increase our influence, our stability. A stability per adjacent extension. I'm not sure what that means either. And then +1 public servant slot in the settlement. Oh, the extensions might be like the astronomer's house. We'll need to check that. I'm not 100% sure. And then the research quarter. Like, there are still a lot of mechanics here which are new to me. Because the previous stream crashed, I actually had about an hour to like check this out and play. I only got access to it today. And I only have access to it until this evening, so it's a very short window that I have to show you this. So a lot of this I'm still like learning and working out as we go. Just everything I've shown you though so far is what I've learned in my 1 hour. So we have the calendar, then we have domestication, which would give us access to horses. It would also allow us to build animal barns, which provide more food from farmers' quarters, or adjacencies in farmers' quarters, and then also more food from farmers' quarters in general. We could get carpentry, which would allow us to clear forests. It would give us access to the lumber yard, which would give us +1 industry on exploitation. Not sure what that means. And then we can get archers, so we can build a new unit. And then finally we have city defense, which would allow us to build walls, which will increase our fortification. I think that +15 is like hit points, so they need to do more damage to the city itself, and then fortification level is how tough it is. And would also allow us to build warriors. But because we are still early game, we're trying to grow, I think we're going to take calendar because I want granaries. Granaries, I know from Civilization, are very strong. So we'll go ahead and close that, press the X there, and that gets rid of this. And now we have the end turn icon saying, yeah, you've done everything. And we'll hit end turn. Time passes and things start being built. So our scouts have reset. We have 4 movement points which we can spend. So we could go exploring out here. We could go out towards this interesting looking kind of desert biome. And from my short time with this game, there are a lot of different biomes and a lot of different things to explore. So that's kind of cool. We've also got copper. Oh no, stone. No, it is copper. Copper and salt. So we have 2 resources in this city. Not 100% sure how to exploit them yet. That is something we'll have to work out. A territory is controlled by a city. Seems like it's a large group of tiles. Oh, so it's this? Or is it every tile that's actually been built on? Oh, this is an exploitation. Ah, I see. This tells you what resources this will actually generate. So this will do food and it will do science. It will not do production. So if we built it here, that production, that +3 would be wasted. We would only get the food, I imagine. And this one's like just food. This one's just production. And then these 2 are built in the city itself, so don't count. So that's what an exploitation is. I don't know what a territory is. It must be like these 2 tiles, seeing as we've actually built something on them. Or are in the process of building on them. Right, we could also flip this to science mode, which would cancel all production, but that seems like a pretty bad idea right now. One of the Barrys, thank you very much for the bit. Oh, speaking of which, you did message me earlier and I have not had a chance to read it yet. Ah, awesome. Yeah, I don't think I want to do the giveaway during this because it's a game from somebody else, but giveaway we'll probably do after. I should say that this scenario is fairly short, so we'll probably spend an hour, maybe 2, on this, and then we'll switch to another game, and at that point we'll do the giveaway, so yell at me at that point. Gigow! Thank you very much for the raid. Welcome to the stream to Gigow and your viewers. How are you guys doing? Welcome to Humankind. This is a first look at the game, so exciting. And we just started, so you're just here in time. That wasn't a reminder, I know, but it was your name, and I was just like, need to remember. Okay, so, let's go exploring. I fancy going this way, because this looks funky. So we'll go and search that. We have to go down and then around. We can't just jump off the side of the cliff. And that's basically all we can do. And turn. So now we've built our outpost here on the top of this mountain. And we can click on the outpost and it will show us some different options. So the first one is if we spend 100 ducats, then we can actually upgrade this into a city. And at that point, this becomes the city capital in the same way as Babylon is the city capital down here. We can also choose to relocate it, so we can click on this and then move it somewhere else if we want the capital to be somewhere else. So for example, if we wanted closer access to the oasis, we could stick it here. If we wanted to have more access to the copper and to the forests, we could put it here. But I'm quite happy with this position. It gives us good access to production and also to food. This seems like a really good spot. And then finally we can do the artisans quarter. This is how you exploit resources which are outside of your reach. So every territory, this is a territory, isn't it? Every territory you claim gets more expensive to build a city there. The outposts get more expensive and the cities get much more expensive. So the first one's not too bad, it's 100 ducats. The second one is 250. So once those prices start really ratcheting up, you're claiming territories, you want to exploit the resources, you would then use the artisans quarter. Not really worth it for the first one, because it's only 30 ducats cheaper than actually building a city there. But it would allow you to do that. Welcome to Humankind, nice greeting. Yeah, you're not wrong. Territory is the bordered region, so yeah, it's this. Okay. So this is a territory, and this is now also territory. So how did that bonus work? And which bonus was it? Plus food per number of territories. So because we have 2 territories, will give us plus 8 food, I imagine. Okay, so basically the bigger we grow, the more powerful these get. And I don't really see any reason not to just claim everything you can. I don't think there's an upkeep. Alright, you guys can move on. We'll move on to the crater. And moving to the crater has allowed us to get technology, or did we just finish that naturally? I think we just finished it. So we got calendar. Now that they are living in permanent settlements, villagers want to track the changes in the seasons and organise the planting of crops. Okay. And we have found another explorable place. We've also found a sanctuary. So sanctuaries are actually lairs. They're monster lairs. So there will be wandering creatures around, and I'm actually a little surprised we haven't seen any yet, because I saw them super early in my test game. But they spawn in the sanctuaries, and you can send your scouts to sanctuaries and then plunder them. Early on, not that dangerous. Later on, I suspect it gets increasingly dangerous. So we could actually move on to the sanctuary. Another thing I will say is it's a bit hard to see exactly which tile that sanctuary is on. I think it's here. Actually, can I see just by hovering? Rocky Field. Yeah, I think it's there. So we're going to go here just to see what this is. Old Horde gained 5 ducats. Gone. They really need to make that longer. And then we can go here. And we made it, which means that we can still do an action. So Ransack. Ransack allows you to destroy the target and gain resources. So we're going to get rid of the sanctuary. And it's right here. This will give us 22 ducats, and it will take 1 turn to do. Perfect. Alright. Actually a little surprised they didn't give us a pop-up for this. This is actually a natural wonder, which is one of the reasons I wanted to go exploring over here. So this is the Danakil Desert. We cannot move through it. We cannot stop here. This gives +1 industry, +1 vision range. Intense heat, sulfur springs, and smoking mountains greet the traveller who cross this unforgiving landscape. +5 influence per natural wonder, +10 stability per natural wonder on that settlement, and +10 money per natural wonder on the settlement. So that's basically saying, hey, you want to build a settlement here, probably quite soon. So the fact that we've built like an extension here to get to here, it's a good idea. When in doubt, click on the ransack button, it'll highlight the sanctuaries in range. Ah, interesting. Okay, good to know. Cool. So then we're going to move down to Babylon once again. You're still building the astronomy house, that's cool. And this is still not upgradable, we'll need to wait a while. And actually ransacking this means that we'll be able to upgrade this settlement that much quicker. Okay, technology. Let's go and take another look at the ancient era. So we could now get access to irrigation and writing. They do take longer because they're further down the tech tree. And I imagine if we had writing, we could go all the way to philosophy, though that would take a whopping 36 turns, which is longer than this entire game. So we should probably wait on that one. So irrigation would give us flood irrigation. This will give +1 food and exploitations per adjacent river. Unfortunately, Babylon has no rivers, so this one's not going to be massively useful. Public fountain gives public hygiene +2 stability per numbers of territories, so it will increase the base stability. And then feast, +2 food per number of the same repeatable on city centre. So from what I understand, you can do feasts on a repeating time, and every time you do it, you get just a +2 food. And as far as I can understand, that's a permanent +2 food. So if you find that you have a city which is short on food and you don't necessarily want to invest in building farms, you can do feasts instead, but you'll only get 2 food, whereas farms, I think, produce a fair amount more. Hi Mordred, did I get the game for the OpenDev initiative? I got it from the developers as part of the OpenDev initiative. I think the intention was that I say, hey, you can become part of the OpenDev initiative, so you should definitely press !Humankind to get some details about that, because they are looking for people to sign up and apply for OpenDev positions, because they want feedback. This is basically public testing at this point, and you can get the game and you can give feedback. I don't know if it's open to everyone. Certainly the applications are. Whether they give out the game in like waves or if they just give it to you if you apply, I'm not sure. You applied earlier. Awesome. I just know through my contacts at Creative Assembly, they were like, hey, we're also published by Sega. Do you want Humankind? Yes, please. Am I doing a scenario game and classical game? We only have access to scenarios, which are the OpenDev scenarios. Okay, so writing is the other choice. We can get the market quarter, which will give us money, and will also give us money for adjacent farmers. So building this adjacent to farmers would be a really good move, but then also the astronomy houses should be adjacent to farmers. We could get food markets, which is even more money to adjacent farmers. This also increases the amount of money that market quarters makes. That's interesting. And then finally we have House of Scribes. So these things are empire-wide bonuses. So if we get the House of Scribes, then all of our researchers throughout the entire empire will gain an additional science, I think. They were talking about empire bonuses, and I think that's one of them. Or we could go for one of the other technologies. So we could go for city defense if we wanted some warriors and palisades, or we could go for carpentry if we wanted the lumberyard. And I kind of think that maybe we want the lumberyard. This would allow us to actually develop the industry exploitation and start getting some more production going. I think we'll go for that. We have the early game food. Okay, so we can close you. Ah, why are you drifting? Stop drifting. And you guys have moved. Just double check. Yes, you have. End turn. Alright, next turn. We're at 64 ducatses. This spawn point has been ransacked. 22 ducats. Now, I saw that that hung around after I left. I think it credited me with that 22 already. I don't remember how much money I had last time. And how much would it cost to claim another territory? This would cost 45 ducats, but I think right now it's much more important to get that city going than it is to get another territory claim. So we're just going to keep on exploring. So we'll head north across the river. So this is actually a place which would benefit from the river flooding. We just need to find a decent place to put a city, because it's looking a bit desolate. You had 30 credited you. Okay, cool. Because I noticed it stays here on the map. That might just be to say this is where you got that money. Like, the pop-ups when you first go over a resource disappear super fast. Then the ones that you don't kind of need to have around always stay up forever. There's definitely a couple of things which are a little bit, yeah, it needs fixing. Again, pre-alpha. Alright, next. Production's going to take 2 turns. We need to wait for more money. Alright, let's... Aha! A wild beast approaches! We have a deer entering our territories. So, creatures like this, you can hunt. They're not just there because they look cool. There's some here as well. You can actually tell your armies to go and attack them. Unfortunately, we are just out of range to attack this guy this turn. And I'd kind of prefer to keep exploring, so maybe we'll loop around the top. But you can basically hunt these guys and make money out of them. So let's just keep following the river. Horses! Interesting. So I believe we could upgrade the warriors if we had access, or the scouts if we had access to horses. At least I saw a horse's head somewhere. There. Or is that just extract? Oh, that's showing me how many of those resources I have. Never mind. Oh, that's the sign for a strategic resource. Ah. Okay. So one of the things which we haven't really spoken about are building military units. We can build more scouts if we wanted to. We could get some more exploration done. We could also theoretically build Sabu-Sa-Quatsti, which are the Babylonian unique unit. As levy recruits, Sabu-Sa-Quatsti are armed and trained to fight in exchange for access to temple-owned land. They are incredibly strong, 22 attack versus the 13 of a scout. They can move the same, range is the same, and they're considered a guardian, stronger when standing on a friendly extension. So if they're in your own territories, then they'll be stronger. However, can only be built if we have strategic resources, which is what this is. So yeah, this is saying you need copper to build the Sabu-Sa-Quatsti, and we do actually have copper available up there in the north. By the way, if you have any specific questions, feel free to ask. I'm one of Amplitude's community managers. Oh, hey, cool. Hello there, Kato. Ninetails. Kato Ninetails, I get it! Ha! No, sorry, it's just the Kato. Okay, cool. And then read the rest, Ninetails. Ah. Alright, good to know, thank you. Okay, so you still have a movement left, and I think we're going to kind of chase after the deer, because I would like to fight them. But I would also like to reveal a bit more territory if possible. We do need to wait a bit longer to build another upgrade, and the astronomers are going to be done next turn. Excellent. There's a lot of deer entering that northern territory. Oh, mammoth! Mammoth alert. So we could actually reach the mammoth. This seems like a really bad idea, though, with 2 scouts. They have a combat strength of 42 to our 26. They're fairly significantly stronger than we are. So I think we'll just let the mammoth go. Let's move around this way. And just keep on explorifying. Aha! Another sanctuary, another exploration point, and then some more deer up there in the north. So I think we'll go chasing after those guys. Then in Babylon, we need to make another decision. Also, we have an event, which is what the speech bubble means. A melody for every occasion. In the teeming, iconic city of Babylon, musicians are a celebrated part of local culture with a long history and holy rites. They bring nobility to religious rituals, jollity to palace celebrations, smiles to the sick and ailing, courage to the marching armies, and distraction to the gods. Alas, they are still too small in number, especially the good ones, and now word of their renown has reached across the empire. Lords, priests, commanders, amongst others, are grousing that their city deserves such artists too. How will you satisfy them? So we can choose either muster or build. So if we muster, street musicians riddle Babylon. They could help commerce elsewhere, even if they were distracted learning. So we would lose... Oh no, we would gain money and science for 3 turns. Less enlightened citizens result in capital earmarked for schooling, and innovation is kept in the treasury coffers. I think that's supposed to be a -2 science and a +5 money. Could have unexpected consequences. Maybe not. Or we could build an institution for music, which would cost us 60 ducats, which is the majority of what we saved up. Overproductive. Industry thrives in the city as the technical innovations and motivated workers combine. So that would give us +10 industry for 3 turns. I cannot afford this money. We have got to get that city up and running as quickly as we can. So we're going to go ahead and muster. Unforeseen consequences be damned.